ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Dear Swami Atmagyananand Ji, Swami Brahmarupanand Ji, dear Sri Bhogilal Bhai, who has come all the way, he has been traveling with me, who received me at the airport and will be seeing me off at the airport. He has come all the way from UK to just take me all around. He took me in Europe tour also, and here also he's been taking me all around in USA. And dear friends, I'm extremely happy to meet you this evening. In Bengali they say it is a phau pawa gecho. This is extra that I'm getting. In fact, I have come to USA to participate in the 19th International Congress on Vedanta organized by Massachusetts University. That will be from 28th to 31st of July. And this being my first visit to USA, I thought of taking this as a pilgrimage, because from great many years I had a dream that I'll be standing and touching the same ground where Swami Vivekananda stood in the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago, in Art Institute, and many other places. Wherever he went, it's a place of pilgrimage. In fact, USA is a Tirtha Bhumi for me, because Swami Vivekananda, though he traveled all over the country before going to USA, he was not popular. But that time he was receiving the knowledge. He started giving the knowledge after coming to USA. First he bombarded Chicago, but the real gift that he started giving was in New York, Washington and other places. And that gift still remains unopened, according to Elinor Stark. That is unfortunate. But that gift has been given to us by Swami Vivekananda. So that is the great place. So many places Swami Vivekananda has visited in USA. I am trying to follow in his footsteps, since that I have got the opportunity of visiting this country. So in the process I came here on 18th of June, and so many lectures in New York and New Jersey and other places. Last evening I reached here. Tomorrow morning I go to Chicago, and then from there to Los Angeles, San Francisco, Sacramento, to Detroit, Thousand Laurel Park. Of course, in between there is Buffalo and also the Niagara Falls. Otherwise they will not allow me to go back to India. They said, you should not come back without seeing Niagara Falls. What is the fun of going to USA? I said, I am not interested in Niagara Falls. I am interested in seeing the places associated with Swamiji. But Swamiji might have also visited Niagara Falls. With that view, we can take it. So then from there, Thousand Laurel Park to Boston, then Providence, and then I attend that conference from Providence at Massachusetts University up to 31st July. Then 3rd August, I take my flight back to India. So it is in this process that the program at Washington had been sandwiched. Previously it was not in my agenda, but then I saw Swami Vivekananda visited Washington, and then in fact he wanted the first Vedanta Center to be here in Washington. But somehow or the other it happened that it started in New York. But since he had come here, I must come here, number one. And second, as you just heard, I want to find out the exact places where Swami Vivekananda stayed. And you might be aware that Swami Vivekananda's 150th birth anniversary is going to be celebrated in a very grand manner all over the world. The year will be 2013 to 14, but the preparations have started. There is a central committee started in India already. The Prime Minister of India is the chairman of that committee. 100 crores of rupees already have been sanctioned by the government for this celebration, and we are still collecting more donations, and it will be in various ways it will be celebrated. one of the agenda is to find out the places wherever Swami Vivekananda stayed, because just now we are not able to know the importance of Swami Vivekananda. Al Basham, one of the greatest historians of our time, says we are too near the history to evaluate the importance of Swami Vivekananda in the scale of history. The future generations will be able to better evaluate him. But at that time they will not forgive us if we do not preserve the places where Swami Vivekananda stood or visited. And so it is our duty to preserve those places. Wherever Swami Vivekananda went, wherever Swami Vivekananda stayed, his holy feet were there, all those places should be converted into memorials. If not, at least a plaque should be kept in those places so that future generations can later on start the memorial there. That is one of the agenda items, and that is why I have been doing research for last 30 years about Swami Vivekananda's visit to Gujarat. That article I am giving a souvenir here containing my article. Of course it is available in our website also. So there we discovered so many places where Swami Vivekananda had visited, and some of the places we have already made into memorials. For example, at Porbandar, the historic Bhojeshwar Bungalow where Swami Vivekananda stayed for 4 months. He prepared the bomb which he threw in Chicago was prepared in Porbandar. All the knowledge that he gained there, he learned French there, he learned the Upanishads, and he went through the scriptures, yes, because he got a beautiful library of Shankar Param Pandit, everything he got in Porbandar. So that Bhojeshwar Bungalow where Swamiji stayed, it was with the government. He requested the government handed over the bungalow on 30 years lease at 1 rupee token rent in 1997. That is how the Star Center was started. It's very bad shape. The whole building was in a dilapidated condition. So we have repaired it in such a manner, keeping the old features intact. The floor is the same floor we have kept where Swami Vivekananda stayed. The whole room has been converted to meditation room. And then in 2005 on 18th April, we received the historic Dilaram Bungalow, for which we were trying for last 40 years. We received the historic Dilaram Bungalow where Swami Vivekananda himself stayed as the guest of the Den Diwan Manibhai Jashbhai. In 1892, 26 April 1892, he wrote a letter in which he has mentioned that he stayed in this bungalow, then he is going to Bombay. So we are again, that bungalow was a very dilapidated condition. We are still converting to memorial, and then many activities have been started, medical activities, mobile medical van, mobile well education van, well education work, library and all that. Now we are wanting to have an educational institution for giving value education, and also a big prayer hall and meditation hall, for which we require $3.5 million. And if we get it, it's okay. Otherwise, there is that plot of land itself will cost $2 million. If we don't get that money, then we will not go for that land. Then we will go for a land which is little away from the center. Then we will not have any other alternative. But anyway, these are the things coming up. So I was very happy to know that here also you have 3.5 million project. And very soon the temple will come up. I am very much sure about it. A beautiful holy atmosphere. In fact, I am not ready to believe I am not in India. I feel I am in India. I feel I am in India. Such holy vibrations I never expected. I thought, oh, America, USA, it is a land of Bhoger Bhumi. People full mad after consumerism, all those people. But here also such nice devotees like you, and such nice holy atmosphere here in the shrine, and a beautiful temple is coming up. So that's wonderful. So really I am thankful to Swami Atmagyananand ji, and since I was coming here, he said that why don't you meet the devotees? It's a pleasure for me. So I immediately accepted the proposal. I'm thankful to him for giving the opportunity of meeting you all. And I congratulate him for the various activities and the beautiful atmosphere that have been kept here. And I'm very much sure that the temple will come up very soon by the blessings of the Holy Trio. And you will have much more things being offered here, and you will enjoy that. You are of course welcome to, whenever you visit India, you must visit that holy place where Swami Vivekananda stayed in Baroda and Porbandar. I am there in Baroda, just near railway station opposite Circuit House. So you are all welcome. I could not bring the brochures, information brochures, and my book, Happiness and Peace. I had brought, but all got exhausted. There were so many programs in New York and New Jersey. So they all got exhausted, but then you can see the website, rkmvm.com. RKM is Ramakrishna Mission, VM is Vivekananda Memorial. www.rkmvm.com/Vadodara. /Vadodara will give you the Vadodara website where you will get all our activities. And if you remove Vadodara and put SN, my name, SN, then you will get all my articles in PDF form, including my book, Happiness and Peace in Everyday Life, the subject on which Atmagyananaji has told me to speak today. So you can see that, and just now as you heard, I was very happy. I came last evening, and this morning we had an exploration, and I had two choices, either to see all the places which all the other people see, because only one day for me, or Atmagyan say you cannot do two things, we have to choose between the two. So I chose that no, we will go to Baltimore, we'll try to find out where Swami Vivekananda stayed, let us do a little bit of research work. So we went to the place where Swami Vivekananda stayed, that is 1123 St. Paul Street. And fortunately we found out that the house is still there, very old house. And then we called the bell, nobody opened the door. Then they told me, this is not India, nobody will open the door. You have to have a prior appointment. This is not the way to be done. But I was determined that I must find out the way out. So I went to the rear side of the building myself. They were saying that you will be persecuted by the police. I said, let me see. If I have to get a joy of remaining in Washington prison, okay. I went to the rear side. There some person came to throw his bottles. And I started talking to him. Fortunately, they said, don't talk to the strangers here, but he became friendly, and when maybe he sees the doors, then found out that he is a Buddhist, a Theravada Buddhist, and he also teaches meditation. He stays in that building only. So then we told this one, then he came forward, and he came forward to help us, and he took us inside the house. And so we stood on the very ground in which Swami Vivekananda stayed. Previously, our Swami Brahmarupan said that he had gone earlier, many years back, but then they had to be satisfied by seeing the building from outside. So at least we have made an entry. Now I have given the homework to Brahmarupananji. He will get in touch with that person and find out the owner. And that building is now on sale. They are going to sell. If I am afraid, if that house is sold, then naturally it is an old building, some multi-story 5-star hotel, something will come out. It's on the corner, very, very prominent place, but I don't know what will happen. But supposing if the owner can be influenced and can be told that a plaque should be kept there in that house where Swamiji stayed, in that room, that would be a great thing. I don't know what will happen, but this is what we have to go on trying. Sometimes it clicks, as it clicked in Porbandar and Baroda and some other places. Then from Baltimore we also went to the place where Hotel Renard was there where Swamiji stayed, but that hotel is gone. And there is one, Charles Parking has come. But the attendant who was in Charles Parking, he first came to quarrel with us, why are you taking photographs? But then when we said that here Swami Vivekananda stayed and we had taken the photograph, seeing the photograph, somehow this happened. So, my God, I didn't know, I am standing on the same place where Swami Vivekananda stayed. And he says, you see, my hair is standing on my body. He showed us. He said, I am so fortunate. So this is how Swami Vivekananda works in a miraculous way. Then he came forward to help us. But that building is gone, but this Charles Parking is there. Then the theatre, that is Lyceum Theatre where Swamiji spoke in Baltimore. That was burned down with that big Baltimore fire in which it was burned down. So there now there is some restaurant that has come up. So we took the photograph of the restaurant, that's all. We have to be satisfied. Then we came back here, and then I wanted to go for the second visit, but it was not possible because I had to come back here, otherwise, of course I had told Atmagyananaji, if I am late, then you have to give speech. But I wanted to meet you all, so I left my further research work today in that Washington area, but just had a glimpse of White House, and also we went to the area where Swami Vivekananda had stayed. But that building was also gone. At least we went to that area. So I'm very happy to be here and very happy to meet you all. Now, Atmagyananji told that you must speak on your subject on which you have written the book, and everywhere they want me to speak on the same subject, happiness and peace in everyday life. But I think those who need this happiness, they have not come. Those who are already here are so happy and peaceful. But anyway, you can have some theoretical knowledge to pass on to your friends who are not happy. Yeah, not really? Okay, there are few who maybe need. In fact, you see, we are those who are attached to the center, or those who are attached to Ramakrishna Vivekananda Sharada Devi. For them, no problem at all. But those who have not yet get attached to that engine, yeah, for them there's a problem. But in any case, I'll tell it in a very way. First thing is that Swami Vivekananda said, to be happy and smiling always takes you nearer to God than any other prayer in this world. To be happy and smiling always takes you nearer to God than any prayer in this world. This is the central message of Swami Vivekananda. And he said, the first sign that you are becoming religious is that you are becoming cheerful. And then he said, long faces do not make religion. And he says, if any day you have got a clouded face, please do not go out of your house. Shut yourself up in the room. You do not have the right to disease, that great disease called melancholy, into the world. To spread the disease. It is a very infectious disease, you know. If you are all 8 or 10 persons are sitting and they are all under tension and they are saying, oh, this world is like miserable, this, and then you also feel the world is miserable and you should also commit suicide along with them. It's a very, very infectious disease, this melancholy. So Swami says, when you are under depression or when you have got a clouded face, do not show your face to others. Shut yourself in the room. And Swamiji was the great demonstration. He always used to remain happy and cheerful. Whenever he will give lecture, okay, that time he is serious. But after the lecture, he is enjoying and he is cutting jokes and so humorous. He is at ice cream party. Then his favorite is chocolate ice cream. Then he says, you know why chocolate ice cream is favorite? Because I am like chocolate. That is the way he used to make fun. And he used to laugh loudly. When in the United States, you know, some of the friends, his friends, some of the devotees, they were very much perturbed. What is this? Then one lady said, Swami, you ought to be a little serious. You are a religious preacher. Swamiji immediately replied, Madam, it is not always like this. I too become serious when I got stomachache. Why do you want to become serious without being stomachache? Yeah, there are some faces, they are so clouded. You see the faces, you feel as if they have drunk some kerosene. So Swamiji said, always be happy and smiling always. That takes you nearer to God. But how to keep smiling? Inside you are bubbling with anger and jealousy. Oh, he has done like this, he criticized like this, and this is what, I am very miserable, and this fellow is doing like this. Like that, if you are bubbling with lot of resentment, you cannot give a smile. At the most, at the worst, it will be an air hostess smile. The poor girl is being paid for giving smile. After how much smile she can give? Whole day she is giving smile. I feel so miserable. See, looking at them, I say, don't give smile. So, inside she is whole day, she is so tired, and yet she has to give a smile. So, liminally, ours will be an artificial smile if we do not have happiness and peace inside. Now, most of the people outside are in search of happiness and peace all over the world. All the people are under tension. Everywhere. Previously we used to be called in very management institutions and so many places and big corporate sector companies for various types of programs on holistic management and Vedantic management. Now most of the companies are asking us to give programs on stress management. And in 2004 when I went to Europe, everywhere they wanted me to speak on the same subject. How to get happiness and peace. That's what I delivered in AMA. Then my book came out. So many reprints have been done. That means all the people now are in happiness and peace, are in search of happiness and peace. What is the matter? Always the human beings have been in search of happiness and peace, but now the problem has become much more multiplied. In fact, science and technology is developing very fast. Almost everyone has got mobile, internet, such fast, so many gadgets. In fact, we should be much more happy now. With so much of advancement of science and technology, the physical distance is annihilated. Every day you can talk to your relatives in India, on internet, with web camera, with free of cost. You can talk to them. So many facilities are there. We should be much more happy. Rather than that, much more misery. The rate of suicide is increasing so much. In many countries, the rate of suicide is increasing. The mental patients are increasing. The divorces are increasing. Previously, only 1/3 of the people used to go for divorce. Now, more than 2/3 are going for divorce in many countries. In fact, when I visited Europe in 2004, one of our friends said, I'm very happy. Only problem is my son is saying that he will not get married. He's already 40 years. Another person said that everything is okay. But the only problem is my daughter, she is working in Birmingham. She comes every weekend to Coventry to say hello. She is also getting a very good package, salary. Only thing is that she says, I will not marry. Then I tell them, why don't you want to marry? Why don't you? Then they say, we don't want to burn our fingers. Our friends have burned their fingers. We don't want to burn our fingers. That means, after 2 or 3 years, at the most after 4 years, they have to get divorced. Maximum period is 3 to 4 years. And the cost of divorce is more than the marriage. Cost of marriage. So, why do you get married and again divorce and again marriage and divorce? Then, what is the fun? Don't get married. The animals are not marrying. Why should we marry? So become an animal. That is the miserable plight. Nobody wants to marry now. And they're living together. They have children. And yet there is no marriage. This is the peculiar thing that I saw in Europe. Same thing is in America. In India also we are importing that Western materialistic culture. And the things are moving there. So one thing is this, that the life has become very complicated. It has become a consumeristic society. Consumerism has come in a big way. And now consumerism has resulted in affluenza. Affluenza-resistant society has been created by the parents in America, and now in India also they are having affluenza-resistant society to protect their children from affluenza. What is affluenza? Affluenza comes to affluent people. And there the children want to have more and more gadgets, more and more cars, more dresses, and then when they get that, they become much more dissatisfied. Then still they want more. There is no satisfaction. Then they become prey of neurosis, and then they become psychic patient, schizophrenia, and then drug addict, then suicide. So now many people are getting alarmed how to protect their children. Many books are coming out in the market. Derek Humphreys is from United States, written a book. The name of the book is The Final Exit. And the book is also exit, not available. So much it is selling like a hot cake. After great search, I found one copy in a book fair. I wanted to know what it is all about. Do you know what is written there? How to commit suicide. And it's selling like hot cake. The bestseller book in Japan is, the name of the bestseller book is The Complete Manual on Committing Suicide. And 3.5 lakhs copies sold in 1 year. Many people started committing suicide in the manner in which it was told in the book. France, the bestseller name book is Suicide User's Manual. According to National Institute of Mental Health of America, on an average, at least one person in every family in America regularly goes to a psychiatrist 25% of the people going after psychiatrists, becoming prey of schizophrenia. So they are all miserable. They should have been more happy with the modern gadgets and science and technology, more and more unhappy. Various reasons. One is, of course, as I told you, consumerism. Second is generation gap. Third is our artificial relationships, egoism, selfishness. All those things have combined together, that Western materialistic culture, absence of spiritual culture. This is all because of that. The whole world now is in search of peace. This is happening because we have got an equation in our mind. H is directly proportional to M, where H is equal to happiness and M is equal to money. We think the greater money we have, the more we will be happy. But we have forgotten the true goal of life. There is a beautiful book by Dana Zohar. She is a professor in Oxford University. She has written the book. Name of the book is SQ, Spiritual Intelligence, the Ultimate Intelligence. And in that she has given an example, a story. I am giving the Indian version of that story. A fisherman was lying, just taking rest on his boat near the Mexican coast. And there was a management consultant who was sitting on the shore. And he said, "Hey, why are you not fishing? It is afternoon. Why are you not fishing?" Then he said, while sleeping, he said, "You see what happened in the morning itself, I got a very big catch. So I sold that fish and I got that money, and that is sufficient for me to feed myself. So now I am relaxing, I am enjoying. My quota is over." Then that management consultant said, "What is this? Is there a quota system here? You should go and fish more and get more money." Then he asked, "What should I do with that money?" "Why? You will save it. Make a deposit." He had never heard about a deposit system. He said, "Deposit. Then what? When you have got a lot of deposit, then you purchase a bigger boat, then you will be able to go deeper into the ocean, you will get more fishes, and then you will get more money. What to do with that money? Again deposit." You see, I am a management consultant from Harvard University. I'll teach you, when you get more, then go on multiplying your boats, and then you will have a big joint stock company. Then you will become CEO of that, and when you have got a lot of money with that company, then you come back to me. I have got the investment policies of all the companies. I will tell you where to invest. And when you invest like this, every month you will get a fixed income. And then you will be able to sleep nicely. I was sleeping nicely, it is you who woke me up. Such a big circle going after this. Ultimately, what is the goal of life? Is to relax, to enjoy. Why not enjoy now? If the goal of life is to get happiness and peace, everybody is running mad. Why? Why are you running mad after money? So that afterwards I'll get happiness. Are you happy? Not now. Afterwards I'll get it. When will you get it? When already the doctor tells this is the third heart attack, and now you cannot take any food, you cannot move anywhere. After that, if you stop, first 50 years of life, earning money, mad after going and earning money, losing health in the process. Next 50 years, for gaining health, lose all that money. This is the paradox. So we have forgotten the goal of life. There's a beautiful Zen story. A horse was galloping at full speed, and somebody asked, "Where are you going?" He said, "Ask the horse." Because I am not taking the horse. Horse is taking me. We are not leading the life. Life is leading us. We do not know what is the purpose of life. Why have we come to this earth? Where do we want to go? What is the meaning of life? The aim of life? Why are we here? This is that been forgotten by most of us, and that is why we are suffering, and that is why we are still obsessed, and we are trying to search for peace of mind at some other place where it is not there. An old woman lost her needle, and she was searching, and somebody asked, "Where did you lose the needle?" "I lost it inside that room." "But then you are searching here. There is more light here." There it is darkness, so it is more light here, so I am searching here. So we are searching for peace of mind somewhere else, in latest model cars, in latest model houses, where it is not there. Vedanta says the source of infinite joy, infinite happiness, infinite bliss is already there within us. We don't have to go for search for anywhere else. And that is why it is told in the Kathopanishad, it said, Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam, Eko Bahunam Yuvidhati Kaman, Tam Atmastham Yenu Pashyanti Dhira, Tesham Shanti Shashwati Netaresham. Who will get peace of mind? Nityo Nityanam. There is an eternal Atman. Inside that eternal Atman, there is an eternal Paramatman. Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam. Inside that consciousness is a superconscious, that is Paramatman. And that God, that Paramatman, that superconsciousness is permeating the whole world and is managing the whole world. Tam Atmastham Yenu Pashyanti Dhira. Those who have realized this Paramatman who is residing inside everybody's heart, they alone can have eternal peace, none else, none else. This is what is our Upanishads have told after long much experience, that the source of infinite joy, infinite happiness within us. We don't have to search for outside. That is why Kabir says, मोको कहाँ तू ढूंढे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास में, खोजोगे तो अभी मिलूंगा पल भर की तलाश में. Where are you searching for me? I am inside your heart. At moment's notice I will get you. And that is why it is told in a beautiful song, which was the favorite song of Swamiji, who used to sing, नाभि कमल में है कस्तूरी, वृथा मृग फिरे बनकारे, बिन सदगुरु नर ऐसे ही ढूंढे, जैसे फिरे पशु बनकारे. There is a particular type of deer. I was very happy to see the deers here. Beautiful deers are here. But that deer is a special type of deer which is found in Himalayas. They are called Kasturi Mrig. And that Kasturi Mrig, those deers, they are running mad. Why? From somewhere they are getting the smell of the musk. In search of the smell of that musk deer goes, runs, and then gets tired and dies. Afterwards it is found out musk was already there in its navel. नाभि कमल में है कस्तूरी, वृथा मृग फिरे बनकारे, बिन सदगुरु नर ऐसे ही ढूंढे, जैसे फिरे पशु बनकारे. We are all like that, in search of musk which is already in our navel, in search of peace which is already within us. That Lord Supreme is already inside everybody's heart. Says Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara sarvabhutanam riddhesya arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudhani namayaya tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsasi shashvatam. Inside everybody's heart, Ishvara sarvabhutanam. Inside everybody's heart is irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality. Inside everybody's heart is the Lord seated there. What does he do? Like a machine operator is running the machine. He's just a machine. Just like a machine operator moves the machine, he is guiding us in every action. Ishvara sarvabhutanam riddhesya arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudhani maya. Just as a machine operator operates the machine, he is inside our heart and guiding all our actions. Tameva sharanam gaccha. Surrender yourself to him. Sarva bhavena bharata. Surrender yourself completely to him. Any type of crisis, when you are lost, when you are in depression, when you are not able to find out, here is a very big message. Surrender yourself completely to the Lord who is present within. Sarva bhavena bharata. Tat prasadat param shantim. By his grace, tat prasadat param shantim. You will get infinite happiness. Supreme happiness and peace. Tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsasi shashvatam. And you will get that eternal life if you can surrender yourself to that divine who is present inside everybody's heart. So that is the goal of life. Sri Ramakrishna said, when you are born as a human being, the purpose of life is to realize God who is present. Then the devotees asked, you say there is God, but we are not able to realize, we are not able to feel. How do we know? How do we believe? We are not able to believe because we are not able to see God. Where is God? Present in everybody's heart, but we are not able to see that. Then how do you believe? How do you believe you? Sri Ramakrishna immediately replied, okay, do you believe that I am talking to you? Yes. Why? Because you are seeing, we are seeing you face to face, that's why we believe. Immediately Sri Ramakrishna took up his chadar like this, and he covered his face. And he said, now, are you able to see me? No. That means I am not here. No, you are here. Then you are saying, if you are seeing, then only it's there. If you are not seeing, you are not there. So then why are you not able to see? Because there is a covering. Similarly, Sri Ramakrishna said, Lord is in everybody's heart. He is very near and dear to us. But we are not able to feel. Why? There is a great covering that has come. A great covering, cloud of ignorance has come. The cloud of unknowing has come. That big screen has come. Remove the screen, immediately you will have his realization. But how to remove the screen? That's a big problem. How to remove the screen? Gungat kapat khol re, tohe piya milenge. Katuk vachan mat bol re, tohe piya milenge. Says Kabir, remove the screen and immediately you will get the Supreme Lord. How to remove the screen? Swami Vivekananda has given the gist of the whole of Vedanta in his book on Raj Yoga in a big small paragraph where he says how to remove the screen. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal of human life is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature external and internal. Do this either by work, worship, psychic control or philosophy. By one or more or all of these and be free. This is the whole of religion. Dogmas, rituals, worships, temples, churches, mosques, forms are but secondary details. So each soul is potentially divine. There is the divinity within every human being. And that is why Swami Vivekananda, when he was told, Swami, they told, Swami, you are always laughing like this. The Swami said, I too become serious and I got stomachache. And then he gave the real reply. Why should I be morose? We are the children of immortal bliss. And that is the message he gave at the worst parliament religion. Vedanta does not recognize sin. It recognizes error. And the greatest error you are making when you say that you are sinner, you are miserable. No. You are not sinner, you are not miserable. The Vedanta refuses, the Hindu refuses to call you a sinner. But what do we tell? Then he recited the mantra, the sloka from the Shweta Upanishad. Shulvantu Vishre Amritasya Putra Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastu Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat Tameva Viditvat Mritimeti Nanya Pantha Viditayanaya. I have found the ancient one who is beyond all miseries. And then Swami Vivekananda says, that is the title that is given there is Shulvantu Vishre Amritasya Putra. The children of immortal bliss. That is the Indian spiritual culture's message. What is a man? If you ask any student, immediately he or she will reply, man is a social animal. Because that is how they have been taught. Man is a social animal. But Aristotle says, no. Man is a tool-making animal. But after all is an animal. But Aristotle says, no. Man is a political animal. Benjamin Franklin says, no. Man is a tool-making animal. Alvin Toffler says, no. Man is an economic animal. But after all is an animal. But Vedanta says, no, you are not animal. Who are you? Amritasya Putraha. You are the children of immortal bliss. Ye, the children of immortal bliss, holy and perfect beings, ye, divinities on earth, sinners, it is a sin to call a man so. It is a standing liable on human nature. Come up, O lions, and shake off the delusion that you are sheep. Your souls immortal, spirits free, blessed and eternal. You are not matter. You are not bodies. Matter is a servant, not he the servant of matter. That is the message. Each soul is potentially divine. Inside every human being is that center of consciousness which is beyond all types of limitations, all miseries, blissful, Sat Chit Ananda. That is our real nature. We are divine. Sat Chit Ananda, infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. That is our real nature. Swami Vivekananda, when he was in America, again and again he told, if ever I feel like blasphemy, it is when I call you a man or a woman. You are not man, you are not woman. You are gods and goddesses. You are divine. You are divine. You are divine. Likewise, he used to say. One day one lady said, Swami, you are trying to hypnotize us. Always telling you are divine, you are divine. Then Swamiji said, Madam, I am not trying to hypnotize you. I am trying to de-hypnotize you. Already you are hypnotized. Being told again and again, you are a sinner, so you are thinking, I am miserable, I am sinner. I have come to give you this real message of Vedanta. You are lion, you are not sheep. Problems will come. What of that? Life itself is problem. Swami Vivekananda, when he was in Khetri, Ajit Singh Ji, Maharaja Ajit Singh Ji of Khetri, he suddenly asked when they were going in the forest, Swamiji, what is life? Swamiji immediately replied, my dear prince, life is nothing but the struggle of a being under the circumstances trying to press it down. Struggle will be always there, but we will not be pressed down. We will be bold, face the brutes. That's the message from me. Problems will come, challenges in life will come, but we have got infinite power inside to fight with it. When Swami Vivekananda was traveling all over the country, before coming to Gujarat, he had gone to Rajasthan. Before Rajasthan, he had gone to Benares. In Benares, he had the darshan of Mother Durga temple. And then he was coming out of the temple. Suddenly, a few big monkeys with black faces, Hanuman we say, they just immediately attacked Swamiji. And Swamiji was very much afraid. Swamiji got very much afraid and started running. Now on one side there was a pond, another side was a big wall. What to do? So he started running the only side that he could run. And the monkey started running after him, chasing him. After some time he got tired. Now what to do? Suddenly he heard the voice of an old monk. Hey, daro mat, bandar ka samna karo. Hey, don't get afraid. Face the brutes. And when he heard this, Swamiji stood up. And he saw like this behind and took his stick like this. All the monkeys fled away. Then Swamiji said afterwards in America when he was giving a lecture, he said, that day I learned one of the greatest lessons of my life. What is that? Face the brutes. Face the challenges of life. Face the difficulties of life. Difficulties when they come, if you get afraid, the difficulties will overpower you. But if you become courageous, face them squarely, all the difficulties will appear. Will disappear. So change, face the brutes. That is the message he gave. So he says, but remember, you are divine. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal of human life is to manifest this divinity. Already we are divine. We are divine. Divinity is there. We don't have to import it. But at present we are not feeling that divinity. Why? Because that ignorance has come. Ignorance, that screen of ignorance has come. So we have to remove that. By controlling nature, external and internal. How this can be done? 4 methods. 4 yogas Swamiji gave in the United States in New York. This is the greatest gift of Swamiji to the whole world. He knew in future it will become a conservative society. In future people will be in distress. People will be seeing, we will want to have stress management resources, and that's why in advance he has given the 4 yogas, the gift of 4 yogas to America. He gave in America because he knew that here it will be needed most. Here, this is the center of commercial culture. Here the big bull is there in New York, in Wall Street, and that will be controlling the people and human beings, and they will become economic animals. He knew this. He predicted that, and he also knew that. And so he gave, as a preventive measure, these 4 yogas, capable of taking us beyond all the misery. And he said, Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gyan Yoga and Karma Yoga. These are the 4 yogas. By practicing these 4 yogas, what will happen? You will get eternal happiness, eternal peace. You will be able to realize that infinite potential. You will be able to realize